And welcome to Tales of the Bargain Bin. I'm Bill Tucker, as always. And with me is a distinguished guest. Distinguished. I'm going to use that word. He was extinguished. No, not quite extinguished. Still here, burning brightly. He was heavily featured on the N64 episode that was recently released, and he will be on the balance of the N64 episodes coming up. Please welcome to the show the host of the Retrologic Podcast, Dan Caparello. What's going on, Dan?
Sir. Hi, thanks for having me again, man.
I know.
You always know you're a good guest when you're back.
Yes, in quick order, no less. This is very, very good. So tonight we're here to talk about the SNES game from 1994. Is that right? Yes,
94.
December 94, Uniracers. Dan, this was your pick, so I'm going to assume you have a long history or at least some cool stories to go with this pick. Why did you pick Uniracers?
Man, it's just one of those weird it's a rare first party Super Nintendo game that just kind of always gets forgotten or just thrown under the bus or just not talked about. Honestly, it seems like the kind of game that's destined for a high eBay price, but it's still hovering around the $15-$20 mark. So
wow. Okay.
If you're an investor, that's a hot tip. And I'll tell you why. And we'll get into a little bit of this early. And we don't have to say, we'll have a slight teaser for later in the episode. They had to stop production of these cartridges early on.
Huh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep. So a little teaser for what's coming later for the story of Uniracers. But for me, this game, I don't know where it came from. Like most of my Super Nintendo games, it was probably a birthday or Christmas present. And my parents grabbed whatever cheap game was, hovering around the bargain bin as per the name of the episode, because it's kind of a weird concept, right? What it is it's a side-scrolling racing game that's very heavily stunt based. So you are a unicycle going sideways on a bottomless track of varying colors, and every color kind of represents a different thing. There's like ooze that will slow you down. There's yellow tracks that represent like a secret section. There's half pipes where you could do tricks. It in a way it reminds me of Tony Hawk, like a 2D Tony Hawk, because it's very heavily stunt focused. Even when you're racing, it wants you to continually do tricks because that's how you gain speed.
Yep.
And when I was a kid, I mean, you only have a handful of games, and when something's new, you kind of pour over it over and over and over again. I loved this game, like super colorful, tons of fun. It has this feature where it's got like maybe 12 or 16 colors of unicycles you can choose from, and you can name each of the colors in the title screen. So I went through all the Ninja Turtles. I was like, okay, the orange one's Michelangelo, and the blue one's Leonardo.
Nice.
And then I was like, I ran Ninja Turtles. Okay, Star Wars characters, and the green one's Yoda, and the black one's Darth Vader, and then so it was just fun. They really kind of did what they could to take a very simple concept and squeeze as much out of it as they could.
I think it's really neat. I remember reading about this, and again, probably at this era, Nintendo Power is my guess. It just seems because it's a very unique concept, but I had never played it. So I played it for the first time today in preparation for the episode. And man, did I enjoy it. I really, really dug this game. I usually give myself like a half an hour. I'm like, I'll just play for about a half an hour, get conversant in it, look some stuff up, do a bit of research for these episodes, right? I don't kind of dig crazy deep into them because it's more about the stories and not as, and an hour later, I'm still tooling around, trying to beat some times, trying to get through some tracks. And I'm like, man, this is an absolute blast. And what I really like about it is there's not a ton of variety in the tricks you can do. You can do like a spin, like a little spin on its axle for the unicycle, and you can do like like a twirl, I guess you could say, or like a loop.
Yeah, there's like all three axes. You can do a twist, a spin, a rotate.
Right.
And but between those, the combinations while you're in the air get you certain names of tricks or extra points.
And as I was getting towards the end of it, and I think at the end of my half an hour ish, I started figuring out, I can combine these things. I can link these up. I'm like, oh boy, this is, because there are certain tracks that are traditional beginning to end races, and then you have loops where, you're kind of doing a Mario Kart style loop. Of course, all of this in a 2D plane.
Exactly.
And then the third one is a stunt track.
Where you do the stunt tracks are the best.
So fun.
That's
half pipe. Yeah, half pipe or jumps. Yeah.
I distinctly remember when I was playing this game as a kid, and I like something clicked about the flip where you kind of turn if you're facing like a normal unicycle, like up and down, you flip and now your tire's in the air, you can flip back. Once I kind of mastered how and when to do that, I was never wiping out.
That's great.
Because you just kind of learn like, okay, the ground's probably here. I have to do all my tricks, then flip back to get to my wheels, and then you go. So yeah, there's definitely like a learning curve, but when it clicks, it clicks.
Yeah, and the learning curve isn't too crazy because again, each track, all the tracks are organized into different, kind of like a Mario Kart, where different levels, like beginner, easy, beginner, intermediate, etc. And within those, there's bronze, silver and gold levels. I believe I just played on bronze. It's kind of like F-Zero. Like you have different tracks, and then you have different rankings or different difficulty levels within those ranks. And I stuck to the bronze just for this playthrough. And again, I found myself challenged. I lost a bunch, but getting used to the mechanics and the game very fair on bronze. And I kicked it up to silver, I think, once, and I certainly lost. I'm still getting the feel, but man, did I have a blast with this. I was really, really enjoying my time with it. I'm thinking, man, I'm so glad that Dan recommended this, because I don't know, this is one of those, for me, this would have been an amazing rental. I don't know if I would have asked for this on the Christmas list, but this would have been one of those games my brother and I rented all the time. We would have probably rented this 5 or 6 times over the course of a summer, And
that's the thing, like the concept doesn't sell you. Like, no. I don't know what planet they were on. They were thinking like, hey, you know what would make racing even cooler? Unicycles. Like, no.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, piloting sentient unicycles through crazy, 2D tracks.
Exactly.
In an era of 3D, F-Zero. And this is 94. Like, we're 3 years into the holiday, December 94. This is 3 years.
That's Donkey Kong Country territory.
Right. And it's
the graphics are not bad. It's all very nice looking 3D pre-rendered, and it's very fast.
Oh, it's really fast.
It's blazing, which is one of the things I think I really liked about it, is there were not very many Super Nintendo games that got that fast.
That would have been one of the ones I would have shown my Sonic friends. Like, see how fast the Super Nintendo can do that Sonic stuff. How fast Uniracers go. Like, you're right. Super Nintendo wasn't doing a lot of that at the time. Also, I gotta say that soundtrack is great.
Yes.
I think the music is so good.
So banging. It's like just like 90s rockin' guitar the whole time.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's really fantastic. I think music, especially, I'm like, it's good racing music, right? Like it moves and it's urgent, and like you said, kind of like that 90s, just rock and roll. It's a really fun game.
It's very much, and you're totally right. This is the kind of game that if you played it, either your parents got it for you from the bargain bin or you rented it.
Right.
I'm sure there were very few people who were probably like, oh, unicycles. I love unicycles. This is my game.
Not too many kids filling out the Santa list and
exactly.
Have Super Metroid, had Donkey Kong Country. Uniracers, perfect.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
An obvious progression of
Yes.
genre.
Even the animations are really good. Even like, for example, when there are sections of the track that will force you in a direction. So you hit, they'll force you in a direction. So if you hit it the wrong way, it'll immediately turn you around and go the opposite way. But if you've turned yourself on the way down to that track, you can speed to the right or the left really fast, as
Save
opposed
you some
to
time.
Yeah, stopping and having to turn.
For sure. And every millisecond counts, really does.
Every millisecond counts. It's really neat. But even like that turning animation is really good. When you win or lose, there's all these adorable little animations of the unicycles either cheering or slumping or falling over. Super cute. Lots of flavor. Really
I remember
fun.
the victory music being particularly just
dude, so good.
Yeah.
It was really, I left it. I was kind of doing it not while working. I was taking a break. Maybe take a half an hour.
Hey, you got to take your breaks.
Listen, hey, I allowed
mental health.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. Treat your brain well.
Yeah.
So I was playing it, and then of course, I get a Slack message. So I had just finished one of the bronze sections. I was on the celebration screen, and I kind of turned it. I just go to something else. I'm looking up this email, reading it, and have the music on in the background. I'm like, this is a bop. Like, I kind of love this. This is really, really good. Yeah, super fun game. Did you play a lot of because I know there's a co-op mode or a 2-player mode, if I remember that. Did you play a lot of that, or was it more
little bit? I have an older brother, and I'm sure we messed around with it a bit. I don't have a very vivid memory of that situation. But like, it worked well enough. I mean, it's a racing game. You're going to have 2-player mode, right?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Well, unless you're F-Zero, which is still, I think, just such a crime that we haven't. Come on now.
Yeah, for real.
Why?
Come on
now. But I will say, I didn't look up then how the 2-player works. Do you remember if it was a split screen or?
Yeah, it was a split screen.
Okay,
it was a split screen.
That makes sense.
And I think we mostly did the like stunt mode. That's the most. That to me was like the most fun. Was like experimenting and trying different stunts and doing the half pipe. The racing gets a little tedious because it's mostly just like. I never loved the actual racing aspect of it.
Okay.
In my
playthroughs, I did mostly racing, and then of course the stunt tracks when they came up during the course of the experience. And I like the racing a lot. It's tricky. Like that you don't have when you get to the higher difficulty levels, you don't have a ton of.
No, you basically have to have memorized the levels and
Yeah, and that's a lot, and that might be something that
it's the Dark Souls of racing games, is what it is.
Here we go.
You got to memorize the pattern.
Yeah, you got to memorize the pattern. Well, and what's nice about the game too is there's no serious failure tax when you're in those situations. If you lose, you just lose, but you can just jump right back into it and try it again. Like there's not like there's no lives or no going back or having to redo things. You just jump back in and try it again. And while it does require some memorization to really get good at it, it's still a lot of fun. I even just the kinesthetics of the little cycle, like leaning forward.
Yeah.
As it goes faster and faster. It's really, really neat.
It really is a well-made, like just very, very well-made game. Really appealing. So as we were alluding to earlier, the unicycle animations in that game are very like just really well animated, really cool sentient unicycles. And so the unfortunate thing for DMA Design is that there had been another sentient unicycle that was 3D animated previously in the world, just done by Pixar in their short film Red's Dream.
Okay. Yep.
And I mean, and the funny thing is there's a quote by somebody from DMA where they're like, there's only so many ways to animate a unicycle. Do you own animating unicycles? Like, no. So how are you going to, so Pixar did end up suing them and won. And
oh, wow.
Yep.
Is that why they had, and that's why they had to stop production?
That's why, they had to stop after the first run of 300,000 copies.
Wow.
So, yeah,
so
there's only
a rarity.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the demand for this game certainly outpaces the supply, or vice versa.
Yeah, the other way around. Yeah.
But that is a very interesting, cool factoid, and you can't play this game anywhere but on a Super Nintendo. So it was never on the Virtual Console. It's not going to be on NSO simply because of the lawsuit. Like, Nintendo had to wipe this game from existence. So if you ever want to play Uniracers, you have to have a Super Nintendo and the game, or do the whole ROM thing.
Right.
But it's certainly worth playing. Like, I would never say it's not worth it. No, it's a super well-made game. It's Nintendo's technically second party, developed by DMA Design, but published by Nintendo.
Yeah. So. It's a really neat concept, and it's funny because when you were talking about the relative scarcity of the cartridge itself, and talking you can still get it for $20. I'm thinking, why are games now stock tips? You literally presented that hey, if you want a savvy investment, listeners, you might want to pick up a copy or two of Uniracers, because you never know.
Here's the thing. I have discovered that I have a weird premonition about these things. It happened in my Discord with Mischief Makers. It was hovering around $30-$40, and I was like, hey, does anybody remember this game? And we all, everybody in the Discord was like, oh yeah. So we all ended up buying one. And then it was something a month later, it was 70, 80. So
geez,
yeah, I've got a weird premonition about these things. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, listen, join Dan's Retrologic Discord for the hot tips on how to maximize your assets. Ugh. Sounds so terrible, doesn't it?
And we're small enough where it's not I'm not influencing people.
No, of course not.
But it's mostly just a joke. But
of course,
it has happened. I mean, these things happen.
Well, again, and that's not to get into a whole other conversation about the state of retro collecting.
Oh man,
that's a topic of mind in previous episodes, and I don't know if there's much more to be said about it, but it's it's interesting that these are now commodities, like baseball cards or Beanie Babies were 20 years ago.
And it's just such a weird thing because unlike those things, this is an experience that I can have. This is this is something that I can achieve or do. Right. And a baseball card is just always going to be a baseball card. And it can have sentimental value, but I'm not missing out on an experience by not having the baseball card.
Games are kind of more than that because it's very unique because it's a thing you can actually do something with. Again, a stack of I had a ex-girlfriend who was really into Beanie Babies. I spent way too much time trolling through boxes and boxes of Beanie Babies purchased on eBay and putting the little covers on the tags, the tag covers. Just mind-numbing memory I just had, a horrifying memory I just had. And and they don't do anything. They sit on a shelf and collect dust, and you hope they appreciate, and they don't, and that's the end of that. Games, like you said, you can actually do something with it. You can actually do a thing with it. So anyway, I did also notice, and you mentioned already, the developer of this was DMA Design, who did the game Lemmings.
Yes.
Lemmings is a neat little game. I don't think I remember liking it as much as I currently like Uniracers. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, of course I'm very aware of Lemmings. Actually, Lemmings 2 is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. It is mouse compatible.
Oh, is it really?
So I've got that.
Oh, dude, that's sweet. That's really cool.
And actually, another DMA Design fun fact, I just released a video on my YouTube channel that is kind of the development history of a very obscure N64 game, Space Station Silicon Valley. So that's another DMA Design.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now it's connecting for me. First off, by the way, quick aside, it's an amazing video. It is so good, so funny. You go on a journey. It's a legitimate journey.
It's a travel vlog is what it is.
It legitimately is a travel vlog. So it's really cool. If you want to check out a very good video, check out Dan's Space Station Silicon Valley video. It's a treat. It's really, really fun and good.
But it's funny, and it's kind of weird when you start to unpack the games that you loved as a child and discover Oh, like a bunch of the games that I loved were all from the same development house, right? Lemmings,
Yeah.
Uniracers, Space Station Silicon Valley, Grand Theft Auto 3, all the same development house. So,
Which is neat. Now
Yeah.
it's cool because clearly they have a design philosophy
yeah,
that's kind
Big
of
time.
and you may not be able to easily see it, because obviously Uniracers is much different than GTA, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I'm sure there's parallels and design parallels you can see within all of them, and it's cool. You're right. You're like, oh wow, I guess I really like this developer who make these
And a lot
experiences.
of, I think a lot of when you're talking about the design philosophy, like it's not innately apparent when you're playing these games what their similarities are. But one of the things I learned from doing the Space Station Silicon Valley video is how much like experimentation brought the team together. And so if you get a development house that works really, really well together and allows themselves to experiment, you're going to get some quality stuff. Like the lessons they learned from the games they developed previous led to Grand Theft Auto 3, which is now,
Right.
One of the best-selling game franchises of all time. So,
Right.
They must have been doing something right.
I was reading up on it, and I think I saw something to the effect of GTA 5 is the second best-selling game of all time.
I think so, yeah, because it's just been 2013 to almost 10 years of being available to play and download on multiple consoles.
Yeah, I guess
It's the
so.
Mario
I
Kart
mean,
8 of Rockstar.
It really, yeah, you're right. It never goes away. Well, it's all GTA Online.
Yeah.
I mean, they will never. People are like, why don't they make a GTA 6? Why would they? They keep selling online. They don't really need to at this point. But
Yeah.
that's a bit of a digression, obviously. But yeah, I was surprised to see DMA design behind GTA 3, which again, a landmark thing. So, absolutely. I actually did a quick search. Again, just kind of prepping for non sequiturs and asides on any other games out there that have unicycles in them.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't find any. I could not find.
So another interesting Space Station Silicon Valley factoid.
Okay.
There's a screenshot in Nintendo Power issue 90. I'm not going to remember the issue. Anyway, it's the issue where they begin talking about Space Station Silicon Valley. Of a bear riding a unicycle juggling, and they talked about how there's all this fun stuff you can do in the game. Well, that's not in the game at all. You can't you can't ride a unicycle and juggle as a bear. You can be a bear, but so there's almost a unicycle in Space Station Silicon Valley.
That's funny. Almost a unicycle.
Well,
We'll get
after
there.
Uniracers, everyone was probably too scared of Pixar to even bother.
You know what? That's probably nobody wants to try their hand at no one wants to tempt the great
No, you're not going to challenge Disney to a lawyer
the great
contest.
Disney.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to lawyer up against Disney for sure. You mentioned there was a Nintendo Power, obviously, as all things do, all games are. I believe you said in this issue 67.
67, yeah. And as I was prepping, digging through my Nintendo Powers, of which I have quite a few, I was like, 63, 64, 65, 66, 68. Oh, crap.
Yeah,
I don't have
happens.
it. I like to read. It's an interesting kind of slice of life of the 90s to read a preview of a video game from a publication of that era, because you really get a sense of like the writing from that era and what people were excited about, and you'll hear them make comparisons to other games of the era, whereas
Totally. Yeah.
nowadays if you're writing about a retro game, it's mostly probably from a very modern perspective, which can be pretty skewed. I mean, games change year to year, so
Sure. Absolutely.
so it's always really cool to go back and read something like that. I'm probably just gonna have to go on eBay and find that one issue,
That one-
overpay for it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking up some interesting. I'm looking up stuff. I'm trying to find the article or the section of Nintendo Power that had Uniracers in there. I don't like doing this, on the during the show because I should be paying attention.
Well,
to my guests.
it's the bargain bin. You get what you pay for. Okay.
Listen, this is this is the side. This is the snack show before the big meals on the alternate Mondays. So I couldn't find the actual article, but I did find the back of the box copy.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is always fine. Uniracers, out of control speed plus outrageous stunts equals Uniracers fun. There's a lot of copy on this. I'll try to keep it brief.
Yeah, go for it.
And this is interesting. So check this out. Single-wheeled and single-minded, Uniracers are the best at what they do. Accelerate to screen blurring speed. Now it says single-minded, which implies that they are indeed sentient unicycles.
Well, they have to be, don't they?
I mean, they are dancing around after wins and losses.
They have emotions. They can express themselves. Actually, fun fact is the code name for this game while in development is 1x1.
1x1? What?
Like 4x4, like an off-road vehicle. 1x1.
Oh, that's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
It took me a second there. Awesome. Screen blurring speed. They're also awesome at pulling flips, twists, turns, and catching monster air off the many mondo ramps, hills, and half pipes of their race. Mondo. Yes. Wow. I woke up this morning not expecting to say the word mondo into a microphone.
I'm gonna bring it back. We're bringing back Mondo, guys.
Let's make it happen.
Mondo.
Let's start to write the rest. Every Twitter response I now post, I'll be like, "Yeah, that's a Mondo. That's a Mondo cartridge you bought there.
Mondo
wow.
collection, dude."
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a Mondo collection. I'm gonna start doing it and see if anybody.
I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna find a tweet and just do it.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do. That's really good. The more outrageous the stunt, the faster the Uniracer goes. The sky's the limit. Racing is the entire purpose of a Uniracer's existence. Wow. I have no mouth. I must go fast. You can race against the clock, against friends head-to-head, or in a custom tournament. Challenge the mysterious Ghost Bike to become the universal champion. Ghost Bike. I didn't hear about this Ghost Bike.
Oh yeah, the absolute. Is it the Ghost Bike that? Okay, so there's a boss battle, quote unquote, in this game against. I don't know if it's the Ghost or if it's the anti-uni. He's called the.
I did read about the anti. I read about the anti.
Yeah, the anti-uni is crazy. You can't touch him, or your controls will be flipped, or suddenly the screen will be flipped, or it'll totally mess you up. So you have to jump over. Because normally if you're racing, you could just pass by someone.
Right.
You have to somehow jump over him to get in front of him. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Bananas.
It's crazy.
That is crazy. So, Challenge Mysterious Ghost Bike. It's one of the fastest races on the Super NES yet. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. It's got a lot of speed, a lot of kinetic energy, a lot of fun.
It's Mondo.
It's cool. It is indeed Mondo. Damn it. I have to remember to do this. Awesome.
I'm already tweeting it. I've already sent one. See if anybody picks up on it.
Let's see if anybody picks up on that. What does Mondo actually mean?
All right, let's hit it. Urban Dictionary.
I'm doing it. Okay, Mondo meaning used in reference to something very striking or remarkable of its kind. Oh, that's actually a real word. No. Oh, that's actually you tell me it's a real word. Yeah, adverb. Used in reference
that works.
to something.
Striking, remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Mondo.
Often in conjunction with a pseudo-Italian adjective. What?
Well, Dan Caparello, you got me here with the pseudo-Italian. Mondo.
I like the it's me, Mondo Mario. The example Google gives me is, I think it's going to be a Mondo weirdo this year, Andy. I think it's going to be Mondo weirdo this year, Andy.
Nope, don't. That's not a sentence. That's not words. Google, you failed.
Yep, don't use it as an adverb. As an adjective, listen to the Mondo autotune with the quick correction time on it.
Mondo.
No, I don't know if that works either.
Yeah, listen to the Mondo autotune, bro.
Okay, striking. Or
check this
remarkable.
Mondo guitar lick I wrote. That's what's
for
up.
for some reason that works better than autotune, I think.
Oh, because of the 90s.
Yes.
Did we have
As-
auto-tune in the 90s? Somebody probably did.
I'm sure. I mean, well, Cher was using it like
Do you
late 90s.
believe in
Yeah.
life after love? When did that
She
come
had
out?
a lot of that.
We went from Uniracers to
1999.
Madonna full circle.
That's the beauty of this show, because let's be honest, how long can you talk about Uniracers?
1998.
Hey,
Do
see?
you believe in Cher? Yeah.
Do you believe in Cher's
that was Cher.
auto-tune?
Not Madonna, but
It's a
fine.
Mondo song. Mondo song.
Mondo.
Keep doing that.
You have to do the voice with it.
Mondo. Yeah. Gotta bring it down and get a little throaty.
Mondo. Throw some
Sweet.
California in there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Surprised Bill and Ted never said Mondo.
I'm sure
It's
they
like-
did.
They might have.
I almost positive. Bill and Ted, Wayne and Garth, they all said Mondo.
All the legends of the day all said Mondo at some point in their lives. Awesome. Yeah, well,
Uniracers.
Uniracers.
It's Mondo.
There it
Go
is.
play it.
It is Mondo. Check it out. Anyway, honestly, man, this would be a great NSO game. I would
never
love to-
coming.
I know it's gonna never come, but this would fit really well
I
in that
know.
in what they're doing, which they present us with a lot of like games nobody's ever heard of, but cool experiences like Fire and Ice. Like Fire and Ice is a fun game, but I don't remember that as a kid.
I mean, it's a very expensive NES game, which is fun, but
True.
the thing, just there needs to be some way to throw this game back into the zeitgeist, because it sort of just hovers around like, oh yeah, that game, I rented that once,
Yeah.
and then it disappears. Maybe I'll have to do a video on it. Might be a time.
I think it might be time. I think if you can bring awareness to Space Station Silicon Valley,
Yeah,
I got
that's
it right.
really
right?
what it's all about. Yep, that's it.
Then
Nailed it.
you can bring some awareness to Uniracers, and hopefully more people can enjoy it. But it's awesome, man. I've really enjoyed the game, and again, it would just fit really well within the offerings of the NSO. But sadly, it looks like that's not going to be the case. And look at that, half an hour, boom,
Man.
nailed it.
I don't
Done.
know what else can be said. Really, we pretty
No.
much filled it. Yeah.
Well, let me just. Well, what I usually do at the end of these is a very simple question, and I think we both have the answer for it. Does it come home with you, or does it go back in the bin?
No, I'm keeping Uniracers.
Of course.
I'm holding the cartridge right now. I'm staring at it.
Excellent. Fantastic. I agree. Same thing. It's going to definitely come home with me. And again, would have been one of those really lovely, random. Hey, look, a unicycle. Hey, Bobby, do you want to play a game about a unicycle for the week? Sure, let's do that for the weekend from our rental house. And boom, have a blast with it for a weekend and be like that little hidden joy. That would have been fun back in the day, and it was fun today when I was playing it. So
Have a Mondo time.
have a exceedingly Mondo
Ooh,
time. See?
Striking.
A striking Mondo time. Adjective on the adverb, back to the noun. It doesn't work as an adverb. Damn
So
it.
good.
All right. Well, thank you very much for checking out this edition of Tales from the Bargain Bin. If you enjoyed this show, there's a bunch of other ones. Just go down the list. You probably have a list on your pod player. You know how to use it. I'm not going to instruct you how to do that, nor am I going to tell you how to use your time. But if you want to spend more time with us, check out this and, of course, the main show at Gamer Looks at 40. If you enjoy what you're listening to, then check me out on Twitter. In the bio, I got a little link tree in there. I am fancy like that. That's where you can find all the places to download the show, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Patreon if you're so inclined, so please check that out. And also check out Dan at Retrologic Games. He's doing some really good work both on YouTube and on his podcast, so definitely give him some love and support.
Thanks.
Dan, thank you. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, continue being awesome.